In another life, I'd like to come back as Shaun Alexander and just truck through people and run through people and be celebrated as an absolute legend who won the 2005 NFL MVP award, rushing for a stupid 1,880 yards and 27 touchdowns. It's so stupid. Three-time Pro Bowler, All-Pro, one of my faves. Shaun Alexander, how are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
1,880 is crazy.
Yeah, I talk about that year, and now I'm kind of flexing on my sons because they're eighth grade and sixth grade, so they're talking about it. And I say, you guys know I set out like 7 quarters that year. They're like, what? I said, there's 4 games I didn't play in the fourth quarter, and they're like, what? What are you talking about, Dad? I was like, yeah, that year was crazy.
How often do you pull up a highlight and you just sit back and say, here you go, YouTube?
It's now with my boys and their friends because they're all getting ready to start playing high school football, and like they're starting to talk about players that are good and oh yeah, hey Dad, you think this and yeah, how good was you anyway? I was like, all right.
Oh, they're going to be. Are they going to be? Are these sons I'm going to be talking about in a couple of years?
There's a good chance. My oldest son. When Ozzie Newsome is a Bama alum also, so we were doing an Alabama event. He saw him when he was like 6th grade and was like, no, he was 7th grade. He said, yeah, he looks like a pro safety. And so he could be right. Like they've been moving him around and he's got speed where he can play receiver, but he's got the body type that could be a good safety. So I don't know. And then the next one's built just like me. So he's a little bit tall, but not great, not super tall. And so that's Justice. So Joseph and Justice there. But Jedediah, he's the 9-year-old, and he's got a little bit of everything. So so he's going to be fun to watch.
I can't wait to, these are going to be the future stars of tomorrow. I like that you're putting me on them already. Amazing. You had such an incredible career. You were a delight of a YouTube search. It's so fun. You dominated the NFL, especially that 2005 year, winning the NFL MVP at the running back spot. Unbelievable. You are top 20 in rushing yards per game, top 20 in touchdowns. You led the league in yards and touchdowns, not once but twice, Shaun. Your numbers stack up against the Hall of Famers, TD especially. Yeah. Your relationship with the Hall of Fame right now, what is it?
I have never done anything with the Hall of Fame except show up at a couple events. I just know all of the greats, Emmett and Barry, they love me. They welcome me in, and everybody gets in the conversation with Thurman Thomas the other day, and they're like, "How to try? You ain't got your gold jacket." And I'm like, "No, stop picking on me." So I'm assuming it's going to happen one day. I believe that my numbers are great, and so I'm really thankful for the career I got to have. But yeah, desiring to be in, I do, and so one day it should happen.
Well, you mentioned Thurman. Thurman is in, and he didn't win a Super Bowl. I'm wondering, like, what do you think is keeping you out? Is it that Super Bowl loss? Then thinking back to it, you lose to the Steelers in Super Bowl 40. Sorry to bring it up, love ya. But like, can you imagine that? And that was the middle of your career. Like, is that what's keeping you out of the Hall of Fame, Shaun?
I don't know. I feel like, we were also in the middle of, contract negotiations and things like that. It seemed like my best years, that 5th, 6th, 7th year was contract negotiations. And so it was always like, yeah, my lines, look how great your offensive line is. So that was the thing that they were all doing it because they knew I wasn't going to push the envelope. I was going to say, all right, well, hey, eventually we will get to the end of this this rookie contract, and then I will sign for the big one. In Seattle, they finally did sign with the big deal. But for many years, I would have these 200-yard games. They'd be like, but look at your great offensive line. And I'd have to be like, I want to keep it humble, but I was the #1 player in high school and then All-American at this university that y'all might have heard of called the University of Alabama. And then we go there and we flip Seattle from a not good program to a great program. But I knew that was all just negotiation talk to kind of muddy the waters a little bit. And then people were talking about it still. Well, then you had this great offensive line. I'm like, my line was good. I would never go against that. But you see what happened when Brady and Randy Moss got to play together, right?
But do you think are you hearing that that's the argument used against you in the Hall of Fame? Like, what are you, really? The offensive line argument? If I got to talk in front of, I would just say, at Shaun Alexander's peak, there was no one better. You went there and you carried that Seattle team to the Super Bowl. That's what I would say. Given an opportunity to speak to that room, what are you saying?
I think it's a couple things. I like to just keep it with numbers. Numbers are numbers.
Yeah.
I played maybe 50 carries my first year, maybe 10 carries my last year. And so that gets you to 7 years. And everybody knows I got hurt my sixth and seventh year, so I probably played half the season. So if you really talk about the 100 touchdowns, the 9,000 yards rushing, it was all done in about 6 years. So I say, so now I say, go find the greatest running backs in any running back you want and say, what did they do in 6 years? And go compare my numbers with them.
You know what else
It
I'd
would be
say?
great.
I'd say name a great running, but name one of these gold jackets outside of Barry Sanders that didn't have a good offensive line. Like
Yeah.
everyone had outside. I think really outside of Barry. That's. You're gonna get there. I can't wait for you to get there. And I hope you're very humble, but I hope you do a little flex. I like that you're humble, but you've got the Madden poster in back of you. That's all you have to show your sons.
It's really fun. It's really fun. I do keep the humble posture, but I remember Sir Mix-a-Lot's in Seattle. His right-hand man is Kola Kid Sensation, and Kid was and Sir, I got to hang out with them while I was in Seattle, and they did a rap. And Sir Mix-a-Lot, our Kid Sensation used to say I was the guy real humble with a slight grin. That was my slight grin.
That's good. That's very, very, very well done. I love that. Okay, let's talk a little bit Seattle. We've covered the Hall of Fame. You're in. It's got to happen. I will sneak into that room. I will take that room by force if I have to. But we're talking all NFC West today, and I sort of posed a question for each team. If I turn it over to you, you're hosting the show. What would you say is your biggest question regarding this Seahawks team?
Anytime you get a new coach, there is a little bit of a buy-in. And so I think it's like if they get through those first 4 games with some positive victories, some big wins, if they even upset somebody, you might see them go really explosive, Pete Carroll style. You know what I mean? But if they lose, then you might lose the guys that aren't ready to buy in yet. And so that's the difference between pro and college. College, everybody's trying to get to the pros where you just go for it. You know what I mean? But in the pros, they're all still, even though they're a coach, you're still like, well, why would we trust you? And so I feel like that's going to be the biggest thing is, will the guys go all in for the new coaching system, which is total opposite of how Pete Carroll did it, and yet successful at the same time. I'm actually having these crazy withdrawals with both my college and my pro team because they've got new coaches this year, and that's going to be the case for both teams.
The Mike MacDonald era. It's here. It's very different. He'll be calling the defense. You're saying that's the biggest question. Have you heard anything? I know you're close to the organization. Like, is there a reason for me to believe in Mike MacDonald and what they're doing here? I'm looking at the even FanDuel Sportsbook, 7.5 total wins behind the Niners and Rams in odds to win the NFC West. And the Carroll thing cannot be understated. This is the first Seahawks team that doesn't have his paws all over it since 2009.
Yeah, it's since I retired. Like, it's nuts. You know what I mean? So it feels weird, totally. But everybody says great things about Mike. Everybody says that when it gets to game time, he's going to be amazing, and all the players will fall in love with his system and will go play high. And so I won't be shocked if they do go, win 9, win 10 games. But at the same time, it just doesn't feel like it at the beginning. But if the course goes the way it always seems like it has for him, it seems like players will play for him and play at a high level. And so I feel good about that.
A lot was made, I don't know if you've seen this, that, the Seahawks, I don't know if it's MacDonald or whoever, they're removing Pete Carroll, like, from the facility. There's this whole thing where they're taking down the slogans, even pictures. And a lot of Seahawks fans think it's disrespectful to the history. Others think, like, that's what coaches do. They come in and they change everything and they make it their own. You weren't there with Pete Carroll. How do you view that?
He won't remove everything. I think, like, some people like to get it really exciting, but there is some things that kind of, it's a Pete flavor, the basketball goal, the pictures, if you really want to grow your own thing, you gotta remove and replace, you know what I mean? It's so, like, you gotta just give Mike a chance to do it his way. Pete was definitely totally different than Coach Holmgren, you know what I mean? And we got there and didn't finish it. He comes in, shakes everything up, and they win. And it's like, well, man, like, you know what? We built the foundation to know what championship football looks like. And then Pete added his flavor and they go and win. Well, now Pete's there. They've kind of run their errand. The boom is gone. Russ is gone, and Marshawn is gone. And so they've had a couple of guys that try to repeat something like that. It didn't win another one, but now it's like, all right, well, Mike's here. Shift it up a little bit. Foundation's still there. Championship's now even greater. All right, Mike, take us to another level, and hopefully you can.
I mean, Holmgren being the opposite of Pete Carroll is understated. I think I sat next to Nate Burleson, as you know, for years and years, and there were a few names that would pop up where Nate would be like, he has that like Belichickian effect where it's like, oh, Holmgren, like Holmgren was a scary guy.
No nonsense.
No, I know you're a Holmgren guy. Listen, he's got to be beating that table for your Hall of Fame. He's got to get in that room and talk to those nerdy reporters. I want to ask you about.
I think it'd be really cool if Mike and I go in the same year. Ooh. That'd be really cool.
Is that possible? Have you guys talked about that?
No, because Mike he'd always tell me he coached, Joe Montana and Steve Young and Brett Favre, and I'd always pick on him. I'd say, hey, you keep telling me stories with, the running back from Green Bay. What was his name? I forgot his name, but he would tell me all kind of stories with him, and I'd be like, Mike, I'm going to eat everything up. And he'd tell me like, sir, he caught 5 Levens, I think it was. Levens. He said, yeah, he caught the ball 5 times in one game. And so I made a point to catch 6 receptions in back-to-back games. Man, I'm open, you know what I mean? And so like everything that he thought, Darcy Levens, I think was his name. And so whatever Mike put in front of me, I wanted to just go gobble up. And so we had that kind of love to hate because he would always want to say, well, here's a challenge. And I would just try to destroy it, so.
Oh my God, you have to get in before him then. You can't go in with him. You got to get in before him.
Before him would be much better. I would love it.
We'll
but
see.
One team is cool. I think it'd be a great Seahawks moment.
Yeah, you mentioned Alabama like 19 times in this interview, so we have to ask you about your friend Derrick Henry, an alum from Alabama, of course. He's playing in his 9th season. He's now in Baltimore. We see how the Ravens season ends last year. My take was, if they have Derrick Henry, they're running the ball and they might be beating those Chiefs in that game. How good is the fit, and can he bring a championship to Baltimore?
I think so. I think he's really that good. He's such a special, dominant athlete, and so he trains like he's a little guy, always trying to stay in there to stay fit, what I mean? But he also throws so much weight around, weight room, ball machines, I think that his body can still do it for a few years. And so, I think he's going to do something really special.
Week 18, he passed you on the all-time rushing yards list.
Yeah, I knew it was going to happen. He did it with our high school record. I passed Emmett, he passes me. You know what I mean? I'm like, really? And he gets to Bama, and then I had all of Bama's records, and then he passes me, and then he gets to pros. Now he's called me up, hey, Unc, I think I might get it this year. And I look at him, I'm like, yeah, you probably will, and he does. So, so I'm proud of him. You know what I mean? Like, one of the things that I've always wanted to do was be a part of a great legacy, whether it's high school, college, or pro, and be able to pass the torch. And so I'm okay that I get to pass the torch to somebody, as long as when I'm there, I leave my mark. And so when they say, oh, man, here was when Shaun had it, man, he lit this place up. And then I can go pass that to somebody else. It's like a singer. I want to go on the stage and rip up the place and say, okay, you can go after me, though. See how they do.
You're a great guy. Like, you're passing the torch. But, are you still the best? Are you still the best? Sure. The greatest Alabama quarterback or running back? And I'm looking at the numbers. He's now only 11 touchdowns away from passing you for 8th all time. Are you still the greatest Alabama running back?
Well, as humble as I can say, yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to hear you say it.
I think that when I was at Alabama, we did not have the offensive firepower as many of the other guys that played with Saban's crew had. And so I think that as much as I love my quarterbacks and receivers at every single level, if I would have ever had somebody with that kind of juice, we don't know what I would have been able to do.
Good answer. One last one for you very quickly. I want to talk about the College Football Freshman Player of the Year award. And it became a thing in 2019. It became the Shaun Alexander Award. How amazing is that? The 2023 winner was Bama DB Caleb Downs. 2022 was Drake May. I mean, this is incredible. You've gotten to know Drake and have followed him closely. How do you think the Patriots should approach him?
You know what? So even with the award, it's been so amazing. You know, Trevor went number 1 overall. Drake goes 3. Brock went 13 overall this year. I'm so proud of those two boys. Those relationships were all wonderful. But I would say for Drake, he is a guy, 21 years old, that wants to be great. I mean, above bar, excellent. And so I would say, like, hey, set the stage for him to succeed. And because he's full of confidence, but still has the 21-year-old insecurity, like, okay, I think I'm going to do this great. And he'll tell him, I'm going to do it great, but he's not sure. So give him all the little wins he can, because when he puts it all together, by the time he's like 24, 25, he'll be one of the best in the league if they build him up right, because he's got all the tools that great quarterbacks definitely have to have.
You know, you talked about legacy. Not much better than having that prestigious of an award named after you. It's pretty good for your legacy. You should have just said it the Derrick Henry question. I have an MVP. Where's Derrick Henry's? Like,
yeah,
I feel like I'm your hype girl, Shaun. I got you in this.
You are.
You're the best. Thank you for coming on the show. Have a great rest of the, I would say, off season. I don't know. We need to get you back on the field. I need to get you back. I need more highlights. And if your kids need to talk to somebody, have them call me. Okay?
Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll have Stephen A. And you all can get in a conversation. Push me over.
I got you. You and Holmgren going at the same. I can't. Holmgren 2-time Super Bowl champ. Like I get it. I just looked it up. All right, you're the best, Shaun. Thank you.